widescreen bar on the bottom of this. Okay, so we weren't originally going to talk about this movie.
Nope.
We watched the first Mamma Mia a week ago. Mm-hmm. We watched it a week ago, and it was just because we're like, okay, well, we're planning on seeing the second movie. Might as well watch the first one at some point, so we're not terribly confused. But I texted you like yesterday or the day before, like, do you still want to review the first movie? Because I'm actually going to be out of town this weekend. I got Wizard World Des Moines coming up, so I'm going to be gone on Thursday, so the new movie's coming out on Thursday. I'm not going to see until Tuesday until I get back, so like, well, this will give us something to put up.
Is that the one you get to meet Jim Beaver at?
I think so, yeah. I think it's that one. It's either that one or Columbus.
Dude's super excited to have you get figurines out. He's like his favorite character from Supernatural.
Get the wrong person to sign it. Like, well, he didn't sign it, but it's signed by John Heater. I hope that's good enough. But also, since we referenced it, and we referenced the first movie in some video, so I've been getting a lot of messages like, when are you going to talk about the first movie? Like, well, okay, I guess we could talk about the first movie, even though when the first movie ended a week ago when we watched it, and
what we even say about this movie?
We were like, are we reviewing this, or are we just watching it just cause the second one comes out? I'm like, I'm fine either way, and you're like, yeah, I don't really know what to say here. I'm like, that's totally cool. And having been a week later, I don't know what to say about this.
You've had time to like absorb all the things that happened.
Mamma Mia.
Trying to figure out what exactly I didn't like about this movie, and I think, and it feels weird to say this, but it was Meryl Streep.
Aw,
because
Meryl Streep?
When is Meryl Streep ever the worst part of a movie, you know?
I don't even know if I'd say she was the worst part of this movie.
Because for me, like when we saw The Greatest Showman,
yeah,
it was not a very good movie, but the musical parts were good enough that it kind of like pulled us through to the end, you know, and made us be at least somewhat invested in the plot. And I feel like if any musical is going to accomplish that, it would be a musical with nothing but ABBA songs.
Yeah.
Because I like ABBA.
Me too.
But a lot of the actors, and especially Meryl Streep, were just like flopping around and zaning it up so much and doing that like kind of screeching musical sing talk for part of it to be like, these moments of the song are plot points. It's like I couldn't even enjoy the musical parts. Yeah,
I'm with you. Like, so hot in here. I'm totally with you. Because, oh, thank you. Just have a geisha sitting in the back, like, and it's Dave.
Best geisha ever.
I'm honestly totally with you, because I should love this movie because it has two things in it that I do, or it's two things that I do love, which are musicals and ABBA. I'm a huge fan of both of those things. And this movie was, you know what, I will say this, I was expecting worse. Mm-hmm. As much as I didn't care for this movie, I was honestly kind of just a zombie sitting through this. Like, I wasn't, not that I wasn't paying attention to the movie, I just didn't have much emotion while watching it. I was expecting worse for a couple of reasons. I've heard this is a pretty bad movie. I think Rob said this is one of the worst things he's had to sit through.
Oh, Jesus.
And he and I have very similar tastes, and Laura, she hated this movie, like, from when we got the trailer for the second one, and I was like, oh yeah, Sarah and I are planning on watching the first one, and she's just, like, it's PTSD coming back, like, it's awful. So, and she came over and watched it with us the other day.
She sure did, what a trooper.
No, so I was kind of expecting worse. My problem with this movie is that, like, okay, there's a lot of songs in it I like because it's the original, or because, you know, I love most of the songs that are on there, but there was never a song in the movie that was making me think, I'm glad I'm hearing this version, or not even that, like, okay, I don't expect the versions in the movie to be better than ABBA doing them,
I want at least to be comparable.
Yeah, and there are sometimes it's passable when it was like a group singing thing, like when they did Voulez-Vous and Gimme 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 at like those party sequences, those I was fine with.
And to like a lesser extent, Dancing Queen.
Yeah.
All just like, all the women are like, yeah, we can dance and have the time of our lives. But still, even like in that, it was, you know, like, you can dance.
Yeah.
You can jive. And she's like, that's right, I can jive. Let's go jive.
I am having the time of my life. No, like, whenever it was like Meryl Streep singing or several others, I was like, this isn't doing it for me. Now, I will say this, like, I've seen musicals where it's a musical like this where they're using pre-existing songs and making like a rock musical out of it. Mm-hmm. And they're just kind of singing even though the lyrics don't really have anything to do with what's going on. In this, I'll give it this. For the most part, I was like, okay, I see how this song works in context of this situation. I see how these lyrics are being worked into this story. For the most part, I thought the movie worked in that regard, as far as the writing. Now, granted, I would so rather watch, like, the Sgt. Pepper movie from 78, which that was so not the case. Like, context be damned on most of the stuff. But I would so rather watch that movie because it's wildly more entertaining than this movie.
Mm-hmm. Now, in that movie, did they play the music fairly straight? Like, was just like, and now we are going to sing Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Yeah, well, I mean, that movie is a product of late 70s. We're high as fuck on cocaine and we're gonna make a musical, like, which is like my favorite kind of musical.
I feel like, again, that would be preferable because they'd be like, yeah, we're gonna sing Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and it's one of my favorite songs and I'm super high, so let's just stop what we're doing and sing this song out loud. Yeah, that's pretty much what they're doing. Sometimes the context is sort of there in a couple of situations. Other times it's really confusing, like Peter Frampton's love interest in the movie is named Strawberry Fields. Of course she is.
So she's singing to him Strawberry Fields Forever. Like, what is she singing about herself?
Shouldn't
like,
you be singing that too?
I know, right? Like, what? I don't know the context here. And then,
because she changed the words to be like,
no.
now you're going to Strawberry Fields.
Like, they're waiting for the sun to rise, and she's singing "Here Comes the Sun." Like, they'll take like a lyric, and it kind of works with one lyric, but the rest of the lyrics don't work. Like, so Peter Frampton tries jumping off a building at the end, and Billy Preston saves him and starts singing "Get Back." Like, okay.
That song is not about...
One lyric is like, okay, get back, he shoots him up on top of the thing, but there's no fucking JoJo in this movie. Who are they singing about? And I would so rather watch that than Mamma Mia. It's endlessly more entertaining. Its flaws are wildly more entertaining than the flaws in this fucking movie. Pierce Brosnan, like...
doing dueling impressions of his singing in this movie because it's like, it's so earnest and strident and I think maybe slightly off from his register. So he kept being like, Donna! And it wasn't singing so much as it was just like a ghost escaping from him.
I was prepared to give it the benefit of the doubt, like, because that was one of the main things I've heard about this movie is his singing. I was prepared to sort of give it the benefit of the doubt, because I've seen it before where someone gets kind of criticized for their singing in something, but then when I watch it, sometimes I get the sense that this character isn't supposed to be that good of a singer, or maybe okay, take for instance Burt Reynolds in At Long Last Love. No, he's not a very good singer in the movie, but it works for that character because oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say like Johnny Depp and Sweeney Todd. Because it's like in the musical, like the stage version, that part is a difficult part and usually it's like sung by someone who's a really good singer. And Johnny Depp did it kind of more rock starish. But I thought that it was in keeping with the tone of the movie, and so I enjoyed it. Whereas this was like, it took you out of it every time.
It did, because I was like, I think this is supposed to be good. I think this is supposed to be good, and it's not. Pierce Brosnan is there not because of any kind of musical talent. He's there because he's Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
He's there to bring in box office. He's there just because he's a name, and that's it. I never got any sense that his character is supposed to be not very good at singing this.
I feel like his character is supposed to be very good at singing.
Yeah.
I shit on in the moment Colin Firth's little bit where he was singing, but like in retrospect, it made sense for that character because he was like a guitarist, and so like he was playing the guitar very well and singing passively.
Yeah.
Like carrying a tune but not like belting. But it made sense in that moment. Whereas Pierce Brosnan, like there's like people singing around him who can sing really well.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, yeah, no, here's my part.
And we haven't talked about the plot very much here because it's just not that engaging.
No.
Like it could.
You know the plot already, though, don't you? It's like she thinks she's getting married and she wants her dad to walk her down the aisle.
Yeah.
She's narrowed it down to 3 dudes based on her mom's diary.
Yeah.
And so she invites all 3 of the dudes to the island, assuming that she'll like look at their face and know which one's her dad, but then she sees all 3 of them, she's like, ah! So then, hijinks ensue. And I feel like it's supposed to be like some sort of like Greek chorus sort of send-up, because like that at the very end they cut to like a bunch of gods being like, ho, ho, ho.
Yeah.
And,
or like
there's the whole like Fountain of Aphrodite thing that keeps coming up, and I wonder if maybe it comes up more in the stage production than it did in the movie. Like,
that I've heard is really good. I've heard that's really good. It's just not that engaging here. Like because
they should have put that in more, because I found that an interesting twist, but then, it came up twice.
So much so to where I didn't remember it until you just brought it up just now. Like, oh right, yeah, that did happen in this movie. It's one of those plots that could be solved within the first 5 minutes of this movie. Yeah,
all she had to do would be like, oh, I invited you because I think one of you's my dad. So they'd be like, oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just drug out because it has to be movie length. People don't communicate with each other. People don't talk to each other for no reason other than we need this to be movie length. This whole thing could be solved so quickly in this damn thing. Like, and it's not funny enough to be like, if it was like, I see the kind of farce it's sort of trying to do here, where it'd be something like, I don't know, like La Cage aux Folles or The Birdcage, or like The Ritz, or like one of those like a big slapstick kind of farce about relationships or sex and all that, but it's not that funny. It's not slapsticky enough. It's not funny enough.
And like, I feel like if they had leaned more into the Greek, I don't know enough about it, like Greek comedy, Greek chorus sort of situation, then it would have been more understanding how farcical they made it. Like sort of like I was thinking like a Shakespeare play, like the comedies where like literally no one is saying anything to anyone, and we get to see what happens when that happens. But this movie was just like, I don't want to say it was playing it straight, but it was just letting these characters do that without at least like winking at us, the audience. So it was really just like, these people are morons.
Yeah, right. And they're just not that. They're not engaging. They're not that engaging. Like, okay, like Pierce Brosnan's cool because he's Pierce Brosnan. Like, yeah, okay, he's cool. It's not because he's that well written in the movie. It's just he's good at being Pierce Brosnan. Colin Firth. I mean,
he's my favorite.
Yeah. He was good in this. I mean, again, his charm came largely because it's Colin Firth, but he was given some of the better lines in this film. Other than that, it is kind of an annoying movie. It is just really kind of, it's one of those stage adaptations where something is just kind of lost in translation. The kind of characters and the kind of acting and the kind of delivery that might work on stage, if it's not well written enough in the adaptation, it can just kind of come across as sort of corny and annoying. And that was sort of the case here. Like, I've seen worse than this movie. I have this. I'm amazed. I'm amazed I'm able to talk about this movie as much as I am right now, because really, I was just sitting there like, okay, this is happening in front of me right now. I could care less one way or the other.
I was like, yeah, it was just kind of a blah movie. Like, Meryl Streep was annoying the piss out of me, and it was just because of the way she was playing that character. She's just very like, whoa, and like just kind of like flapping her arms out, and like she kept like breaking down for the sing talking thing. And she's a really good singer, just like her cat could fucking stand her character or the choices she made to play her. And then there was an upsetting bit at the end that I wasn't much for, where like they it's one of my favorite ABBA songs, Take a Chance on Me.
Yeah, yeah.
Like during the, like, spoiler alert, turns out that all three of her dads, they're like, well, I'll be your dad. And she's like, great, I don't have to get married anymore. And then Pierce Brosnan's like, how about instead you marry me, Donna? And she's like, okay. And so they get married. And then at the end, during like the wedding scene, the friend, like the shorter, less attractive friend of hers starts just browbeating Skarsgård into trying to like have sex with him, and he's having fucking none of it. So she's just chasing him down the street. Take a chance on me.
I didn't. If the whole movie was kind of cartoony to that extent, that would be fine. Because that reminds me of like the Bugs Bunny cartoon.
That's fucking Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah, I mean, it reminded me more, I can see that, but like, Bugs Bunny had a cartoon that was a similar situation, where it was like a bigger rabbit was chasing after him, and if the whole movie was kind of cartoony, fine, like if it was all like a Warner Brothers cartoon. When it got to that, I was just ready for the movie to be over with, honestly. Like, I was like, this isn't, I love this song, but this scene's kind of annoying, it's kind of out of nowhere, really, like, sometimes he's into this and other times he's not. Like, why is this movie still going?
Yeah, it was because they could play Take a Chance on Me, and I do like the song.
I do too.
It was like, it was gross for women, because it was like, oh yeah, who'd want to fuck you, you fat, not attractive. And it was gross for men, it's like, what's wrong with you? You love sex. So it was like a perfectly fine movie, and at the end, just took a big old bite of garbage.
I didn't think one way or the other about that scene. Like,
it was gross.
It didn't bother me any, really. Like, it was just, I was just ready for the movie to be over with at that point. And like what you just said about like, I decided all three of you were going to be my dads. Like, so nothing is resolved. Nope. There's nothing resolved in this damn movie. Like, and like, every time that there's like, not every time, but a lot of times when like, it's a movie like this, characters are going to get married and then they don't. It is a trope you see where like two random other characters are like, well, we'll do it instead.
Yeah, why
like,
waste the efficient?
Fresh Prince did that, Fooling Around with Gary Busey. Like, I've seen this so many times.
What the shit?
You never saw this movie?
Is he the romantic interest?
Yeah, it's from '79, I think.
It's Gary Busey.
It's actually a really good movie. It's like the only, this is like pre like Gary Busey getting in an accident or whatever.
Pre-Busification.
Like, yeah, like, so he did this movie in 1979 called Foolin' Around, and it was with him and Annette O'Toole, and I think it's like the only rom-com he did where he's like the romantic lead. It's actually a pretty good movie.
Play like an actual person.
No, he's good in it. Like, and Cloris Leachman is like, because he's from Texas and he goes to college and he falls in love with Annette O'Toole, and she's engaged to like this doofy rich guy, and like her mom is
always.
Yeah, like it's one of the Cloris Leachman is like her mom, who's really waspy, and Tony Randall is like the snooty butler. This movie has a climax that involves a car chase with a Oscar Mayer weenie mobile, and it is
adorable. You call it a weenie mobile.
It is a weenie mobile. Like, it's a giant weenie. So like, it's got a car chase with that, and like, when the wedding they're trying to say, it's got one of those climaxes where it's like, we're trying to stop the wedding, only instead of being exactly like The Graduate, where he just
like,
charms
filming
it.
Hello Darkness, my old friend is sitting in the back of the weenie mobile.
It does have a soundtrack where it's kind of trying to be like Simon and Garfunkel, but it's Seals and Crofts doing the whole soundtrack. And the soundtrack's actually pretty good. And so just imagine The Graduate when Benjamin goes in at the end, Elaine, Elaine. Imagine that if instead he crashed through the window on like a glider.
Never having seen The Graduate, I know the scene you're talking about, and that would have made it infinitely better.
It's the first. it was the first acting role that William H. Macy was in.
Was he the doofy rich guy?
No, he's just got a small part. At the beginning of the movie, he's a con artist on this campus who, like, tricks Gary Busey into buying all these outdated textbooks. So Gary Busey goes to him and says, like, hey, I'd like my money back. And he's like, oh, sorry. So Gary Busey then, like, hangs his car from a tree. It's like, give me my money back or I'm going to cut it down.
That's the Busey we know.
That, exactly. And it worked, too. He got his money back. Anyway, long story short, you should watch that movie instead.
Apparently. So, like, being that my least favorite part of Mamma Mia was Meryl Streep, and being that it doesn't look like she's in the second one a whole lot, I wonder if I'm going to like the second one more than I like the first one.
I'm curious if the second one is going to be one of those instances, because this comes from a show, and I don't know if the second one does or not, but this comes from a Broadway show where they certainly took their time to make all of these songs fit into context with a story, and the ones that didn't fit in context they just put in the ending credits. The second one, well, I guess they have had 10 years since the first one came out, but the second one, like, is the second one going to be one of those movies where, like, nothing has any context to what's going on, or they're just singing songs from the first movie?
That's, again, I wouldn't have a problem with that. And it does seem like from the previews, the lines are being read fairly straight, because they're like, oh, I told Bill, oh, I told Jeff, and I told many, many people.
Yeah.
Whereas in the first one, it's all like, that's your grandmother talking!
Yeah.
That's Catholic guilt! And, like, that just annoys the crap out of me, you know? And so if they can keep away from doing that, and it does seem like, I do like that they cast, like, younger guys to play the three dads in the second one, where in the first one they just, like, put wigs on them.
It would have been amazing if they just put a bunch of makeup on. I'm 17 now.
Like 10 years later, it's still calling for
yes,
as Headbanger Harry.
That would have been so good. Like when Spacey played a 17-year-old in Beyond the Sea.
What?
Well, the movie where he played Bobby Darin, and he also plays him as a younger guy in the movie.
Sure. Put, like, the Diane Keaton filter on from Book Club.
They do that with Hugh Jackman, too, in Greatest Showman, and he's supposed to be, like, 20 at one point in that film.
There's a beginning song during A Million Dreams where he shows up, and it's like, you are not that young, Hugh Jackman. Did you do previews? Oh, there's nothing.
Oh, shit, yeah. We didn't watch any trailers before this. There's better... If you want to see an ABBA movie, there's better ones you could watch than this. There was a docu movie they had in the late 70s, I think, that's just called ABBA the Movie, that's like a tour documentary. There's Muriel's Wedding from the 90s with Toni Collette. That's a funny movie, and it's got a big ABBA soundtrack. That's way better than this movie. There's really no... If you enjoy musicals, this isn't worth watching because it's not a very good one. And if you enjoy bad musicals, again, there's nothing to this.
Watch your Sgt. Pepper's.
Yes.
That's fucking shock treatment.
Watch The Apple. Hell yeah. Oh my god. Please watch The Apple.
Watch my dad was telling me there's a version of The Mikado where Groucho Marx plays the Lord High Executioner.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
I need to track it down online because that sounds awful amazing.
Watch Paint Your Wagon.
Gonna paint a wagon. Gonna paint it fine. Gonna use oil-based paint because that wood is pine. Ponderosa pine. Woo.
That movie's long too. It's like 3 hours long. It took him forever to paint that wagon.
Because painted, goddammit, move on. You know what I was thinking about the other day is that we should watch, and this is like not even remotely related to Mamma Mia, is I've never seen Dirty Dancing.
Oh. Yeah,
Dirty Dancing. Do you like that movie okay?
Yeah, it's not my... Yeah, it's not... of the 80s dance movies,
that's like a musical, right? There's just that scene where they're singing at each other.
Not like... No, it's more of like where there's just a lot of stuff on the soundtrack, like it's a dance movie like Footloose, and
Never
where there's
Footloose.
dance
Is Footloose
numbers
a musical?
in the same way that Saturday Night Fever, Staying Alive is, where like there's dancing and but no one stops to just like start singing, or if they do, maybe there's context to it outside of it being like just like Mamma Mia. It's more like, it'll stop to do like a dance number and things like that, but not in what's the term for that? Like it isn't like they just stop and just start singing like in like a standard musical. It's a dance movie. It's a dance movie.
It's
like,
a dancicle.
Yeah. I vastly prefer Flashdance. That's my favorite 80s dance movie. Flashdance is fucking great. Flashdance is like the Saturday Night Fever of the 80s. Yeah, like of those movies, yeah, Flashdance is my favorite dance movie of the 80s. Dirty Dancing is good. Footloose is good. I like Footloose better than Dirty Dancing. Staying Alive is amazing for different reasons. Staying Alive is fucking entertaining as hell.
Staying Alive, I've never seen. I did, like, when they did the live version of Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
With John Legend. It's so hot, you guys. I'm so sorry. With John Legend in it, like, it was okay, but it mostly just made me really want to watch the original movie version of Jesus Christ Superstar.
Right.
Was wearing, like, onion hats out in the desert.
Yeah. Should have tried your hand at the Christmas Story musical.
Yeah.
All 3 hours.
Alice Cooper plays goddamn King Herod. He does that bullshit sing-talking thing. It's like, you're Alice Cooper, goddammit. I know you can sing.
He's in Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Does he sing in it?
Well, his face falls into a pie at the end. Yeah, he does. He sings in the movie. He's one of the ones they have to get their magical musical instruments from. I love this fucking movie. So anyway, Mamma Mia, I didn't care that much for it, really. It wasn't as horrible as I thought it was going to be. It
was pretty much exactly as bad as I thought it was going to be, and it was just because of, like, personal bias for the most part, but I don't know. I don't know that I would recommend it to anybody.
No, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't. It's just kind of lame. All right, everyone. So we'll see the second one. I'm out of town this weekend, so Tuesday I'll be seeing, like, Action Point and Adrift. I don't know when Mamma Mia 2 comes out, but we'll be seeing that when it comes out.
We'll see it eventually, and then we'll tell you guys about it.
See ya.
Bye.